I am an artist living in beautiful Vermont, USA, and I have a lot of questions. So I engage the minds of the people that I meet. Poets, writers, artists. I explore what's inside and share it with you. My name is Ricky McGeckran, and I am eager to know. Willow is a unique retreat in adorable Newfane, Vermont. It is dedicated to integrating personal passions and interests into daily life. The property is really incredible. There is both a main house and a tree house. I visited many times and have always felt, well, like I was home. I am happy to share my conversation with the owners of Willow, Tom and Ravi. I am here with Ravi and Tom, who are owners of Willow, a retreat in South Newfane, Vermont. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me, for making the trek over here to Bellows Falls from South Newfane.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. What makes Willow different from a standard bed and breakfast or standard Vermont inn?
Great question. You know that Willow used to be the Treehouse Village Inn, so we bought an inn, and we're very clear when we came here that we didn't want to run an inn. So Willow focuses, what makes it different is that it focuses on helping people cultivate what passions and practices that bring them truly joy in their lives. And so we run retreats focused on arts and on yoga and meditation at the center.
Okay, great. Now I know that it's more than just because we've talked about this before the pod starting this recording. It's more than just giving people lessons and classes. It's more than that. You really want to help people more than just learn a skill. You are hoping that people will do what?
Come to the place, which is a beautiful and calming place, and find a way to cultivate what makes sense to them. And so we have built everything into this home and this 5-acre property that people need to sustain a practice that matters to them. So what do I mean by that? We brought local artists and artisans into the property. Everything that you see in the property, use in the property, can be also enjoyed out in the community. So we're bringing the community to the center. We have a yoga studio and art studio in the house, in the main house, and so people can use that to practice whatever craft they're coming to practice. People can also just come for a weekend individual stay for R&R, and that makes it a little closer to an inn, but really what we're trying to help people do is enrich their lives by coming to a place that really is focused on self-enrichment.
Okay, so it's more than teaching someone how to paint or do yoga.
Correct, yeah.
You're really encouraging people to find a way to incorporate whatever this is in their life after they leave.
That's right.
So because that's the trick. All of the, we live in 2023 where anything you want to learn, any new interest or skill, there's plenty of content available for people to learn. The challenge is keeping it part of your life.
That's right. On
a day-to-day basis. I mean, that is the key to all of it, to many of these things. I know that I learned piano recently. I started to. And, I was so good about it. I was practicing every day for an hour for 4 months. And then I kind of fell off of it. And
right.
I actually haven't practiced it.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. And it was a very enriching experience for me doing it. And I kind of need to get back on that. So I think I need we need to get Willow to do piano lessons so that I can not just learn more piano, but integrate it in to my life and stay on top of it.
You'll be happy to know that we just brought in an 1868 antique piano that was made up in this region at that time. So you'll be able to come and play.
All right, good. But you know what I'm saying with that example. That's, and for people that are listening to this, it's one thing to learn a new skill. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to incorporated into your life. So can you tell me, what do you have planned for retreats, these themed retreats? What do you have on the schedule, or what do you have planned, even if it's not, fully locked down?
Sure. Well, we have 4 retreats that are officially scheduled, and many more in in development right now. So they start in mid-April with a retreat taught by 2 exceptional artists practicing classical realism, and they'll be teaching portrait drawing and painting for 4 nights and 4 days. And folks who come to participate in this retreat, it's residential, so you'll come and stay, you'll have meals.
I'll be mostly in charge of making the meals.
Yeah.
And
So tell me about the meals. What can you say about that? You are originally from India,
Yeah.
and you have only lived in the U.S.
for 7 years now.
Okay, so can I assume that the meals that will be served will be influenced by the cooking that you had growing up?
Yeah, definitely. They will have some influences and maybe flavors from India. Although I'll try to make it like less hot or spicy and make it
Okay.
more palatable for everyone. But yeah, so there will be some difference, especially like for yoga retreats. We will try to focus more on vegetarian, more wholesome meals. And for the other retreats, it will be generalized, like there will be non-vegetarian stuff as well. With, of course, flavors of India, but even other cooking as well.
Okay, I want to go back to what we started talking about,
Sure.
about the other things, but I do want to ask you a little bit more about moving from, I know that you had lived in Boston,
Yeah.
but moving from, is there anything about Vermont that is similar to where you're from in India? Because are you from an urban area?
Yeah, I'm like from a mid-range city in India, I would call, but it's still very urban, like it has population compared to Boston, like almost same. So it's a big city, but I've always wanted to live more rural, in spaces where it's more greener. So this was like almost like coming to my dream place when we moved up here in Vermont.
Wow. So when did you first come to Vermont? The first time you came here in the winter, in the summer?
I think we definitely came in the summer, my favorite season up here. And it was we came for a stay in an inn, I guess, in Wilmington.
Yeah.
And we stayed there for a couple of days. We went on hikes. We went to the river. And that kept us bringing back and we have been doing that for the past 3 years now. So we kept coming back. We came in fall, then we came in winter. So I got to see all the seasons, and then eventually we decided to make a leap.
Yeah, okay. I can relate to that. That sounds similar to me. I came up here. Everyone always starts going someplace once, but I started coming regularly, and then I realized, like, this is the place for me.
Yeah.
So now you have the portrait painting. So is that something that can anyone be part of that,
Yes.
or would you need to have any sort of artistic experience?
All skill levels,
Okay.
including right down to beginners. The instructors will take every portrait from the beginning stages of blocking in all the way to forming shape from light sources and shading and so on. And so they'll be very careful and structured about bringing you through all of those stages.
Wonderful. So if anyone is interested in learning how to paint, doing portraits is, doing the human form or portraits is a great way to start.
It is, yeah.
It's I say this all the time because you're a built-in art teacher, because you can tell if anything's off. You don't have to be an art instructor to know that something is off. As a human, we can read it, even the slightest bit off. So
Yeah.
having the support and an immersive situation where it's back-to-back days, that sounds fantastic.
That's
and
right.
who are the instructors?
They are Chelsea Bard and Tyler Berry, both of whom can be seen on Instagram. So that you can get a flavor, or you can see their work on our website, willowvt.com.
Okay.
If you click on the retreats section, they're the first retreat listed.
Right. And I'll put their Instagram in the show notes.
Okay, great.
And then what else do you have besides? What else do you have?
So we have following that we have a yoga and meditation and breathwork retreat called Living from Our Sacred Self. And this is taught by, I have to just say, we're so excited by, I think, the greatest teachers, not gurus, just practitioners of yoga and meditation that I've been studying with now for 7 years myself. And so when we made this move, they were one of the first couples that we reached out to partner with, and they said yes. And so they're leading a retreat on Memorial Day weekend with us in May.
Wonderful. And now I know that you do yoga daily. Both of you guys do.
That's right.
How long have you been doing that? And also, do you do meditation daily?
Sure.
For me, I've been doing it since childhood, I would say, on and off, not like every day of the week or every day of the year for that matter, but on and off I've been practicing it. It was very common in my household, especially
Practicing yoga or meditation?
yoga.
Okay.
With my grandparents, they would like make us sit down and do it. So that was one thing, but then I had a brief pause, I would say, for 5 to 6 years where I wasn't doing much. And then when we met, when the COVID started, that was kind of a trigger for us to again get back into yoga and some of the meditation work because all the gyms, everything was closing down. And so we started doing it, and to our surprise as well, we were very regular with it and kept going. And so that's how we've been doing it for a while.
Great. Now, how has the practice of meditation and yoga, did that influence you guys making this major change? Because I know
it really did.
Yoga and meditation is so foundational to how our brain engages with the world,
Right.
I think. Pardon me. So how did that affect this big move?
Right. I mean, practicing daily, I can say, changed our lives fundamentally. I mean, we moved here as in part because of that experience. That was a major factor in that decision. And how it, so some people think of yoga as poses or as a fitness type thing. But actually one of the things that it does if you do practice on a regular basis, and it, by the way, not strenuous, not trying, not effort, it's somewhere below effort and somewhere around surrender. It opens your body physically, but also your whole mind body, so that you're really open to inquisitiveness and curious about things. The notion of yoga is that when you're done with a practice, you go into a calm meditation practice, and your body is open to meditating and using meditation as a way to observe what's going on in your life.
Okay. Yeah, I do yoga quite regularly, and I started doing TM, Transcendental Meditation, when I moved to Vermont. And that has been, I believe it's been a big impact. I also, moved from a big city to a rural, to Vermont. So that, I don't know what is from the TM and what is from just living in Vermont.
Sure.
So I'm not really sure, but I definitely have seen a sense of calmness, which is better for decision making for me.
Sure.
And being productive.
Sure.
So I can see how doing that would make you be able to be confident in making a big major life change like that.
It was an awareness that this was right for us because it was such a life enriching practice for us, and we thought, well, we can help other people integrate a practice like this or their own practice in painting or music. Whatever it is that brings us that infinite and expansive joy that makes life really worth living. And that's what we came up here to do.
Wonderful.
Can I just add one thing about that? We are like everybody else, we struggle with the dilemma of trying to make a living and being busy, trying to be really good at our jobs or at being family members or being community members, striving all the time. And in doing that, sometimes we find that months or even years can pass without practicing that thing that brought us so much joy at some point in our past life. So the idea of coming up here was to create a space and a community where people could come to practice those things that bring us joy and hopefully integrate them into the work and the striving of everyday life.
What do you think the biggest challenge is for people in doing that? And is it, a lot of people have interest in things they know make them happy,
Yeah.
and they're not doing it. Why
Yeah.
do you think they're not? What
Yeah.
do you have an idea?
I could speak from my own point of view, and maybe each of us could add.
Sure.
For me, it's the sense that there isn't enough time for that I have 5 or 10 things to do on my list before 10 o'clock in the morning, and therefore I don't have time at 7 a.m. to practice 20 minutes or 30 minutes or sometimes even longer of yoga. Or that it's a big deal to sit down and practice 2 to 3 minutes of meditation. And that's what it takes, 2 to 3 minutes. So we sort of face this block of before we sit down.
So it's a It's a perception of not enough time, is what you're saying.
That's
it is
right.
for you. What do you think it is for people or for you?
I think main thing is the time, but also sometimes the work that we do, we get so much involved in it that some of the things we just start skipping because we have to focus on the work that we are doing. And so and that comes for me more from living in a city where there are a lot of things that you need to do. Just consider example of driving. Just going around for 5 miles in a city, it will take half an hour to 20, more than that probably in Boston or somewhere bigger. So just shifting our location and coming here has also opened more space and more time for us.
Just living here.
Just living here.
Just living in Vermont. People that are watching or listening to this don't necessarily live here,
Yeah.
but it's you have a lot more time in general because there's a lot less to do actually, and it's easy to get. I guess you spend a lot of time driving.
Yeah.
But I would say personally for me, I think that. Did you ever read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
No, I know of that book.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites, and I feel like I'm always talking about it.
Mhm.
But one of the things that the guy who wrote it talks about is being proactive. So there's things that act on you that you have to respond to, and then there are things that are really important, but they're not urgent, and you have to proactively do them. And that's where things like yoga, meditation, or
Music.
or practicing piano.
Right.
But it is important because at the end of the year, if you have been meditating every day, that is really important, and you're going to see results. But it's not. But other things are acting on you: the emails, the whatever, the phone calls, the meetings. I know one thing that I personally do is I actually plan out my week. I know you're not asking for these details, but
we try to learn from.
But what I do is on Sunday nights I figure out all the things that I want to accomplish, and I block out time on my calendar. So I have had piano on the calendar. I haven't done it, but things like I have my meditation and my yoga on the calendar every day, so that even if I don't do it, the chances of it happening are more likely because it's on the calendar. Now that doesn't work for everybody. I know I have friends that don't do calendars. That's not how their brain works. So that's something that people could, when they're having an experience at Willow, they would be able to learn, I assume, what works for them.
Right. So every one of our retreats concludes with a half-day brunch. It's really social and integration workshop, where And we expect this to be different every single time. But where the 12 participants and the 1 or 2 leaders sit down and discuss the strategies they use to integrate these really important practices into their daily lives.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun.
So we have portrait painting, yoga and meditation, and what's the third one?
So we have we have portrait painting, then yoga, and then we have a figure painting class with, and by the way, these painting and drawing classes are live models that are also coming to do a craft that they are passionate about. And then we have a fine art photography of the nude male retreat in the middle of the summer. And that's open to men and women photographers, and you can have any kind of equipment, meaning iPhone or DSLR or film photography.
Wow. Okay, now the figure painting, that one is done by, I think I met that artist.
That's Paul Schulenberg.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I've met him.
Yeah.
He came to my art show.
That's right, and he bought some work from you, I think, did he?
Yeah. No, he did not.
Oh, okay.
But he's reached out to me about getting models and stuff. So.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I know that figure painting is, I think, is one of the best ways to calibrate your painting skills. Because as I mentioned about portrait painting, it's the same thing. You don't need to be an art instructor to know that something is even the slight bit off. It also causes a lot of problems because it's really difficult.
Right.
And it can be very overwhelming, which that's why having a retreat where you have support like that sounds fantastic.
Tyler, who is with Chelsea, his girlfriend, leading the first retreat on portrait painting, said something just fascinating recently. He said, I don't know anything about yoga, but I will tell you that my painting recently has been a struggle between effort and surrender. Every brush stroke. I'm really trying to strike that balance between being really effortful and really surrendering to the stroke of my brush. And I'm like, you know everything about yoga if you approach your craft that way.
There are so many parallels between, well, yoga and everything, but certainly yoga and painting.
Yeah.
Painting is real. It's this whole new mental world where it's just you open up this door and there's so much there. It can be really overwhelming. It's just it depends on how you look at it, but you're just constantly solving problems. You know, you show up at the canvas and it is just what set of problems am I solving today?
Right.
And it can be, that's not always fun. Okay, people think that being a painter, it's just free, and sometimes it's not fun and it's really difficult. And yoga is really helpful, and meditation is really helpful. It all kind of relates. But I think that yoga and meditation have applications, obviously, in the real world. You know, because they kind of make you basically what you just said is because that's what we're confronted with in our daily lives, no matter what we're doing.
Right. And yoga is, to remind ourselves every day, we think of yoga not as a series of poses, but as a process of opening up to the present world. And so it is poses, and then it's meditation, and then it's carrying that spirit into the mind-body spirit that you've cultivated into the world. Right speech, right mind, right spirit.
Wonderful. I feel like my conversations on this podcast always end up being about yoga and meditation. No matter who I bring, if they, no matter who it is, if they do that as a practice, it always ends up occupying a big part of the conversation because it's so foundational and so wonderful. So if people are interested in learning more about Willow, the URL is
willowvt.
willowvt.com.
Yeah. And if you land on that page, there's a very easy menu. There's lots and lots of information there, but easy to navigate, and lots of photographs of the space. So
beautiful photographs, by the way.
Thank you.
The website is really quite elegant.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
So, well, thank you guys very much for hanging out with me today. And I obviously already knew about Willow, which is why I knew a little bit, which is why I invited you on. But now I am very excited that I live close to it.
Yes, thanks.
Nice.
Thanks.
So, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
You're welcome.
My name is Ricky McGuckran, and you have been listening to Eager to Know, the podcast. If you haven't already, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join me next week for another Eager to Know podcast.